Yeah, pretty much what Shihab just described, Akanksha. There's certainly a continuation of the sublimation printing, which is a big chunk, and the smaller direct-to-garment print. But what we are seeing is, again, the same trend, where you're going towards lower speed, lower size, not as wide, probably not as many, 1.6, 1.8, more towards the 60 to 160 centimeter to 100 centimeter, lower speed, lower productivity. This is probably what we're seeing. And it's no surprise. I mean, if you look at the market has shrunk. The textile market across the world has shrunk, and certainly in the Middle East has shrunk. And therefore, volumes have come down, and that goes for lower productivity printers. So very much what Shihab described, lower productivity, lower sizes, lower, a bit less expensive. But certainly dye sublimation is a fantastic technology, and it's very affordable, and that's we continue and see that trend.
Yeah, the initial investment is lower than expected. So
what about from HP's perspective, Halim?
See, frankly, the way we see it on fabric, we can say it's a somehow different dynamic. Like that business in certain area is more about soft signage, flags in some regions, some countries, where not in fashion, while in other country it's completely the opposite. So it varies from region to region. As HP, our offering is more on the dye sub, where we target garment, fashion, in addition to the soft signage, with the total switch solution what we have. So as we said, we cannot say it's all the way in all the country. It's really varies depending on each country, what is their requirement. But overall, we have the solution that covers all the current requirement.
Okay. Ayman, where do you think the regional interests align in terms of fabric printing in MEA?
In Canon, we don't, textile or fabric printing is not our core offering. Yes, we have Colorado. Colorado 1650 is our roll-to-roll machine, can handle some fabrics, and especially for, as Halim mentioned, is for soft signage, but it's not a textile printer. From my experience in the industry, I think I'm not that expert to talk about textile printing. I think the gentleman here probably Mr. Philippe has long time in this as well. I think this industry is all in the it was growing, I think, before the pandemic, but now the disruption that the pandemic did actually made new trends, and how the trend after the pandemic, or the new normal, or as we want to name it, how the trend after this deep dive in the market and the demand and the shock, how the recovery and the pace of recovery for textile and other than textile will be. This we are all witnessing. I think I'm positive that actually usually after deep drop in the economy and in the demand and in numbers, usually there is a bounce back coming. So everyone now is questioning, this bounce back will be a V-shape bounce back or U-shape bounce back. We are all hoping here for V-shape bounce back. Some products might make that V shape, hopefully. I think some products was not that badly affected, even sometimes positively affected, like signage, like we all agreed here, was positively affected because of the COVID-related applications and advisory signage and so on. Some other products might have V-shape, like digital printing, for example. Some other product might stabilize, like I think might be offset, or so this we are witnessing and see how the recovery will be. from volume, from selling hardware and so on. But I'm expecting textile to recover fast as well, because textile printing from digital point of view, with comparison to the traditional way of printing in textile and fabrics, is a good trend, and it has a lot of good application from, again, if we are talking about digital, so we're talking about short runs and personalization, customization, and so on, and this is very highly needed in all aspects today. So that's why I'm positive to have a V shape as well in fabric and textile printing.
Thanks, Ayman.
Can I add?
Yeah.
Perhaps I could
Absolutely.
add a few things to what Ayman said, and give some numbers. And yes, across the world, when you look at the total textile market, digital nowadays represent more than between 8 and 10% of a huge market, and that's quite significant. But just also add to what Ayman said. When you look at the InfoSource figures, unfortunately I only have the 9 months from 2020. When you look at the InfoSource figure on large format, the drop is between 50 and 60%, whether you look at Saudi or UAE, etc. And if you look at the textile, it's the segment that has dropped the least, the less. If you look, for example, in Saudi, in fact, it hasn't dropped. But of course, Saudi is a small textile market. But even in the UAE, whereas the whole market dropped by 50 to 60%, the textile, I think they say, dropped by 17%. So, you know, I think it was Halim who was talking about resilience. Well, this is resilience. You know, when the whole market drops 50% and your segment drops 17%, that's a good performance. So sorry, I wanted to throw some numbers at you, since we have already some of the InfoSource statistics from last year.
No, that's very interesting.
Also to
Yeah,
add
please,
to that,
please.
actually, to gentlemen to say it. So the textile is a perfect example of the opportunities that came in, because as Philippe just mentioned now, a huge part of the textile is still on the conventional way, and they are not converted to a digital. So we are still around 8 to 10. To be honest, in some of the countries are much less even, and this is like a global number when you're speaking about the digital part. Because if you speak of Italy, maybe a little bit different when you speak about textile industry. But this is here the opportunity is coming, actually. The textile is still in a very big investment, I would say. A very long run, I mean, very big high production, which is not required anymore. And this is making speed up, to be honest, the conversion from the conventional to a digital in our region. And we noticed that, actually, even if the people, they don't have the right investment amount to invest today, or they are a little bit worried, I would say, because still the situation not very stable and they don't know what can happen tomorrow. But this is speed up the way of thinking, I would say, and how the customer think about converting to digital. And now they are realizing and they're confirming this is the future of the textile. It's not anymore the conventional. And to be honest, the digital also printing, taking a very good steps, actually, I would say, starting from 2003 till today, there's a lot of development on the digital textile happening. And digital textile now, when it's coming to a cost and to speed as well, it's become really very high level, very close to the conventional. And it's became, to be honest, very, very logical to convert now. And this is maybe the right time for the investment for many of these companies. So I think this is one of the opportunity, what I just said at the beginning of the conversation, that any crisis will create their opportunities. And I think we have to look very close to this, to understand, to analyze the market, and to see how we can use this crisis as an opportunity for us to develop more the market and our customer needs, and offer them a better solution for their future.